Greetings from wherever you are in the world. Just getting fired up here. Sari, welcome to the stage. Sarah, I invited you to co-host. Should be good. Yeah, just getting Dal. I'm going to invite you up here as well. Lots to talk about on the Cosmos Zero front, an historic initiative. Governance proposals proliferating across multiple chains all over the place. Super exciting. And I think today we're going to unpack a lot of this. We're going to unpack some of the questions that are coming up, around carbon credits that people have. There's, as you can imagine, bringing something relatively complicated like carbon credits to a bunch of different communities with different understandings of and perceptions of what it means to offset carbon has brought up all kinds of interesting questions and answers and comments that I think we'll dig in today as well. But Sarah, good to see you. Did you get a little bit of rain down there in San Diego yet? It looks like we're getting a much needed Western.
Yeah, it's definitely foggy here in California. Can you hear me okay this morning? Cool. Yeah, excited to kick off conversation about Cosmos Zero. I know we have Sari, our community manager from Regen, who's here, and Staken and Stakesito, who are also directly involved. I think we should bring up Stakesito to the stage as well. So just feeling really grateful for the community this morning and really excited to share about what's going on with Cosmos Zero across the whole community. So Dave, do you want to wait a couple more minutes for folks to come in and bring folks up to the stage? I'm not sure if you can still hear me. Can folks in the audience give me some emojis if you can hear me? Okay, I see Staken is a thumbs up, Stakesita is 100. Okay, cool. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring the rest of the folks up on stage. So just sent a memo request to you, Stakesito, to see if you want to come up. And I think maybe while Dave sorts out his sound, maybe I will work on kicking us off this morning with a little explanation of what the heck is Cosmos Zero anyways. And then I'll probably pass on to Sari, our community manager, to give us a little bit more of the details while we wait for Dave to get his Twitter sorted. So good morning, y'all. Let's start out with what is Cosmos Zero. So Cosmos Zero is a community-wide Cosmos-based initiative for protocols and validators to identify their carbon footprints and then to use their community governance processes and make largely requests from community pool funding on a protocol basis to purchase and retire offsets so that each individual protocol can become carbon neutral. So over the last year or so, really, our team at Regen Network, this sort of campaign really started with a very simple question we were asking ourselves, which was, what is the footprint of Regen Network, the blockchain? And how do we figure that out? So we partnered through all of last year with about 40 different validators on the Regen Network side and have them fill out this spreadsheet that we call the proof of stake validator footprint calculator. It's open source. There is a repo of open source carbon footprint calculators that we'll share in the resources from today's conversation, and it's in there. But our validators essentially stepped up and they said, okay, cool, let me go and look at, where are my servers? Where do I get my electricity from? Do I use Amazon AWS or do I have, server machines at my house? How many nodes am I running in my validator business? And we used their answers from this footprint calculator repo, the real world electricity usage data. and came up with a couple of different ways to look at how would we determine from a validator perspective, what is the footprint of a network? And we found a number of different trends inside of that real world data collections process with our validators, including that, some of them are using AWS centers that are already offsetting. So technically their energy is already carbon neutral. Some of them have machines at home. Some of them have machines that they're using elsewhere. And we decided from this process that we wanted to partner with the Interchain Foundation to say, okay, if we now have a logical way of using real world data to extrapolate the Regen Network protocol footprint, how can we use that information and that process as a basis to extrapolate, what is approximately the carbon footprint of every protocol in the Cosmos ecosystem? And so we started on a pathway of taking that data and expanding it to every protocol that we could find. And in the process of that, we essentially came up with a guide to the process that communicates to protocols and validators, why are we doing this? Why do we care about carbon footprints of protocols in a proof of stake environment? They're already honestly pretty low, but they do still exist. There is still energy being used. Computers are still running 24/7 to run many of these networks and their relayer nodes. So our logic behind this is, if we want to be a socially responsible ecosystem that does care about having a planet to live on, wouldn't it be great if we work together? And the beauty of the Cosmos ecosystem, and this is just my personal perspective, is largely that you have all of these amazing application-specific, autonomous, technical, and governed blockchains that make their own decision. So unlike, Ethereum Foundation saying, hey, we're going to offset all, ETH 1.0 wallet footprints, or unlike Polygon Foundation just saying, we'll just offset Polygon, we can figure out what it is. We have to enroll an entire community of dozens and dozens and dozens of projects to join this conversation and to rally our validator communities at large to say, this is something we think is important to the whole Cosmos ecosystem, and this is something that we want to take leadership in. So maybe what I'll do here, I'm not sure if Dave's sound is working quite yet, but I would love to have Sari take a minute to talk a little bit about just like, how does this process work? What are the steps in it? What are the resources? How can you get involved? And then I think we can maybe briefly touch on which protocols and validators are currently engaged. And then we have a couple of them here that we would be able to bring up on stage. And Gregory, I'm just adding you as a speaker right now. So perhaps we'll have you come in and talk about this a little bit here too once you're connected. Can you hear me, Gregory? Are you connected now?
Yes, I am. Good morning. Good morning, everybody.
Welcome. Yeah, do you want to add a little bit of your perspective about Cosmos Zero before we have Sari just talk about the process? And then I was thinking we could chat with some of the validators that are here, and then we could talk about some NCT and bridge stuff, which totally relates to how all this actually goes down in the real world.
Yeah, awesome. Well, just would start at a high level and say this is unprecedentedly awesome. What's happening here? I think it's, it's maybe a little bit underhyped for how cool it is. There are other blockchains that have gone carbon neutral, of course, and we've supported some of that taking place. But up until now, all of the other Web3 projects that have gone carbon neutral have done so with like a foundation or a founding team taking responsibility to do the offsetting. And we decided in the spirit of Cosmos to bring this straight out into the community and go through community governance and kind of bring the whole community together through the Cosmos Zero campaign. So that's really cool. And then the other thing that I think is really cool is how Cosmos Zero relates to the coming NCT bridge, on-chain carbon liquidity, and this sort of like the birth of a new carbon asset. I think a lot of people ask about, like why offset or what's going on. There's a couple of pieces here, but one, I think, we're all about, I think in Cosmos, we're all about being sort of competitive to have these public networks that create the most utility and the most public goods with the least negative things happening, right? And so proof of stake networks, it's relatively cheap and easy to do the offsetting, so that's really cool. But also, this is a really exciting opportunity to create a new on-chain form of value, a new asset class. The flow of value of these eco credits, specifically carbon credits, links our community with the real world and a real world value flow in a very exciting way. So what comes beyond Cosmos Zero, I think, is also sort of linking blockchains to be able to hold carbon liquidity, to be able to build a larger market, and to be able to participate in creating a real world uncorrelated asset that we're sort of bootstrapping through this process of our community being the primary consumer to start of these carbon credits. So anyway, just at a high level, that's why this is so freaking exciting. I don't know if anybody who's up here has questions. I feel like it's probably good to start with that bigger framing of just like, why is this exciting and why is the hype, and then kind of get into the practical details, if that makes sense. So I don't know if people have thoughts or want to just discuss that sort of like larger value proposition that's taking place here. Hey, Stakesito.
How's it going, Greg?
Going great. Good to see you. Hey, Antonio. How are you doing?
All good, thanks. Yeah, I'm also excited to talk about Cosmos Zero and the experience so far, talking to Evmos and pushing this forward.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, really excited about Evmos. I'm also excited about Evmos's role in bringing some of the refi community that's on the Ethereum virtual machine over to Cosmos, and this Polygon bridge we've built and NCT liquidity, Cosmos Zero. It all kind of fits together into this, I think, larger opportunity for Cosmos, because the refi community, or for those of you who aren't familiar with that term, the regenerative finance community, I think is pretty strongly aligned with the sort of sovereign app chain thesis. But also there are user like tech debt and UX challenges to help invite people kind of like over into the freedom and opportunity that Cosmos has. So in my mind, I know this is maybe a little non-linear. It's the way my brain works. There's a direct linkage between our ability to spin up the Cosmos Zero campaign, have this ecosystem of blockchains that are offset, Evmos particularly for like bringing in Ethereum refi community members, and start to build this really robust economy. So yeah, Antonio, hey man, do you have anything you want to add at this like pattern level, or anything you're hyped on before we pass it back over to Sari and Sarah to talk us through some of the details, and then move on into sort of the validator conversation and let them share their perspectives?
Hey, everybody. I have one really specific token mechanism question I can save for later. But yeah, just looking forward to building off of this Cosmos Zero plan so that eventually every transaction in the IBC ecosystem will have an offset option.
Yeah. Well, or even just be auto offset at the protocol level, I think is the aim. Yeah.
Even better.
It's exciting. Cool. Well, I'll pass it back over to Sarah and Sari to keep the conversation flowing. Thanks for letting me jump in at the start here.
Yeah, thanks for joining us, Gregory. So I think we'll just pass to you, Sari, and why don't you just talk us straight up, simple through what are the steps to the Cosmos Zero quest? What is a protocol and validator combo got to actually do to complete this very magical experience?
For sure, for sure. Okay, we have made it pretty easy, I think, for validators and protocols alike to join in this initiative. It's a 3-step process. Step 1 is calculating your protocol footprint or validator footprint. The BICO, I always mess this one up, that working group has put together a really good calculator for us to use. But also we have, based on the research that Sarah was talking about with Regen validators, calculated a worst case scenario number that validators and protocols can use if they want to offset without having to go through that calculation process. So lots of tools for either approach you want to take on that one. Step 2 is submitting community governance proposals. So for that one, we have some templates that protocols and validators can use to start the conversations, all of the relevant details that are needed for the community to make the best decision for themselves. And obviously, us at Regen Network are willing to help in any way that we can if you need to be more specific for your protocol or your validator. And then once community governance has been addressed, the discussion and proposal have passed, step 3 is purchasing the eco credits to offset the protocol carbon footprint or validator carbon footprint. So we have 2 options for that. The first is the Regen Marketplace eco credits, which are a little bit more premium quality that are available now. And then we also have the coming NCT eco credits that will be available early Q1 of 2023, I believe. And those are going to be available through a liquidity pool and osmosis. So, and then the silent step 4 is celebrating, your decision to go carbon neutral. And we have some really good badges and press material that you can use to share your journey and share that you are part of this really important and unique initiative. So pretty simple.
Yeah, thanks for sharing, Sarah. So I think just to add to that, we have a very handy dandy guide. So any validator and protocol that wants to dig in, there is a guide for the process, as well as
I just shared that. Sorry.
Oh, thank you. Great.
In the comments.
Okay, perfect. And then we also have this growing Telegram group. It got to be too many separate validators and protocols to talk to. So we have a community Telegram group where everybody is banding together and supporting each other with drafting proposals, supporting each other with commenting on Commonwealth, because there are proposals that are currently live, asking good, pattern level and detailed questions. So we are definitely recommending that any protocol or validator that wants to take action definitely join that group, because that is the easiest way for us to be, in support of wherever you are in the process. And this Monday, we made our very first leaderboard update. For those of you who follow the Regen Network Twitter, you probably saw the cool game image of the steps in Cosmos Zero and who is at what step. So we definitely want to congratulate Stargaze has already retired their carbon credits, so they are already carbon neutral. Checked, IXO, Osmosis, and Empower protocol have already completed either their governance process or their public commitment to participating in the process. And right now, live in Commonwealth, we have a whole bunch of proposals from Agoric, Akash, Injective, Juno, Regen Network, and Gravity Bridge. And there are a number of other chains that are currently drafting their proposals or are discovering their, how they want to engage with Cosmos Zero. So we're really excited that there are so many different protocols already leaning into committing to Cosmos Zero, and the validator community has really stepped up in this really decentralized way to participate in this process. We've had Empower Validator and Staken and the Injective team and Regenerator and EcoStake and Low Labs. A lot of different validators have stepped up and stepped in. Stekesedo is working on Evmos. There are a lot of folks that are leading into their different communities and taking leadership with bringing up the proposal to Commonwealth for discussion. So congratulations to everybody who's made it so far in this process. I want to pause and maybe see if there are just any general questions from the audience of like, how does this work that we can resource quickly, Sari and myself, to see if there's any, needs about how to get started in the process. And then I would totally love to spend a lot of the rest of the time talking to the validators that, are here and have taken the opportunity to join us this morning about why they're engaging, what they're doing, which protocol they're, lifting governance up for. So maybe I'll pause, and if you have a question, please raise your hand so I can try to facilitate you up on the stage real quick. I see your hand, Staken, so feel free to come off mute because you're already a speaker.
Hi, thank you so much, Sarah.
Hey,
Hi, Gregory,
welcome.
as well. My voice might sound a little weird. It seems I'm getting the flu because of the change of weather. Welcome winter, right? Welcome December. I'm very happy about this Cosmos Zero initiative. I believe it's very important that we try to compensate the damage that we do to our planet Earth. At least that is what I believe in. I have a few questions. I don't know if now would be the right time to ask those, but maybe that can help get the conversation started if that's okay.
Yeah, go for it.
Awesome. So on Akash and Agoric, we posted the proposals in their respective governance forums so we can start the discussions. That happens 8 days ago. And sadly, I haven't got any input on it. I just got one question. So the question I got is, okay, I will ask that question later. The question I have is, since it's been more than 7 days since we posted this on their
Can you just say the question? I've been waiting 2 minutes for you to say the question. Just say the question.
Sure, buddy. Great things comes to those who wait. Thanks for your patience. So my question will be, since it's been more than 7 days since I posted this on the forums.
All right, hurry up, bro. Hurry up.
Should I post this
Sarah,
on already?
Please boot Jimmy the Otter. I'm not a host.
Yeah, I just did. Sorry.
Yeah, Jimmy is a well-known troll in the ecosystem. He has done the same in my spaces. So it's all right. We welcome everybody here. So my question is, should I post this on Shane already, since it's been more than a week since I posted on their forums for the discussions?
I think my instinct here is, as in these governance forum posts, I don't know if this has already happened. I started doing this a little bit, but I think what we need to do is DM via Twitter and Telegram people that we know care in the community. Like, I don't know if Dean has been DM'd, or just like, because everybody's really busy, right? And to get people to focus and sort of like have the appropriate process around any of these things, it's just often that we need to take the extra step to just like reach out directly and sort of tap people and say like, hey, does this look good? Do you have any questions? If not, do you mind just chiming in that you support this? So I think, like identifying people and just like reaching out and nudging them is pretty important. And I know it's kind of a pain in the butt, but it's the cat herding part of the governance process. I think that we just need to sort of like, farm for dissent and engage people around stuff personally, like with personal outreach, not just sort of like in the forum. That's my 2 cents. I find that I have to do that on stuff on Regen or stuff that I care about in other networks kind of all the time.
Awesome, Gregory. I agree with you. That's true. We'll go ahead and DM those folks then to get their thoughts and maybe more support before going on Shane. Thanks for that.
Yeah, that's definitely getting a little bit more engagement, I think, is good. So, like doing a round on Twitter, doing some DMs, getting a little bit of movement. I think that's the right way.
Awesome. Totally. The other question is related to that. I don't know if you already touched on that, and I might miss it, but well, here I go. would you support the proposers with the deposit amount when submitted the proposal on chain?
What is the agoric proposal amount?
Well, don't sue me, but I really don't know. We'll need to verify. Although now that I'm thinking of it, most of the networks, there is a minimum, right? And other people can support the deposit amount, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, multiple people can. I don't know that. I mean, we're definitely big fans of agoric. I don't know that anybody here has a lot of build. But definitely happy to chat about it offline and see what we can do there.
All right, that sounds good to me, Gregory, and thank you for answering those questions. The last one I have is in regards to rebuttals. The one question I got from Akash was like, and I'm gonna read it. It says, how do we know it's legit helping the environment and not just some scam? How are they audited or proof that the money is going where it's supposed to go? And he's referring to purchasing these credits.
Yeah, I mean that's the whole purpose of Regen Network and Regen Registry, I guess. So I mean, I think there's a very detailed answer to that. It's all there in the credit class information. So in the case of it's going to be, the case of city forest credits, there's a sort of program and verification system. In the case of NCT, that is the guarantee there is Vera, which is the largest off-chain carbon registry, and there's sort of all of these quality assurance processes. It's important to note these are the first generation of carbon offsets that are being tokenized. So the quality assurance process is kind of, in quotes, the legacy carbon assurance or quality assurance process, in which there are it's an institutional process where people have to go through and file paperwork, and they're held accountable. The credits don't come into existence without lots of quality checkpoints. We're building sort of a fully on-chain version of that with Regen Registry. And so in Q1, there's going to be sort of fully blockchain native credits coming online. But for this first generation, we've simply tokenized or are supporting other carbon credits that have been tokenized that are coming from these sort of existing quality assurance systems. And so if people want to, all the documentation is there, right, about how the quality is assured on the credits and how we can assure that it's not a scam.
Got it. Well, I went ahead and sent him the Notion document that we have with all the information, right? But I was looking maybe for maybe a cute way to sell that. But thanks for your answer, Gregory. That's all my questions for now.
Yeah, I think this is a great question, and maybe what Sarah and I can do, and we love the feedback, so keep it coming. We have a FAQ in the guide, so I think that maybe today we can add a little bit more information about the credit class and the quality assurance process for the credits, because it has come up in other places. And then there'll be something that everybody across all the protocols can kind of copy in as the way in which to answer that question, or the way in which to start a conversation around those particular questions that I've seen come up in some of the other governance proposals that are live as well.
I believe this is partially addressed in our FAQ already. I will work on writing up something that people can use as a rote response when this comes up. I'm also sharing documentation for the verification standard for verified carbon standard from Vera and our Regen marketplace in the comments for this, if anybody wants to go to those pages and read more specifically on that.
All right, we have a deal, I guess. Thank you, guys.
You're welcome. Yeah, are there any other questions from the community about just like how the process works? Because if there aren't, I would love to, pivot over to talking to we have at least 3 validators that are here that have proposals live. You've already spoken, Staken, but giving folks an opportunity. I see you, Antonio, have a question. So if you want to take yourself off mute, feel free to chime in.
Yes, I was going through EcoStake's proposal, and I was just curious on how the workflow would operate. So I guess the idea is to set up a multi-sig to fund the wallet and then use that to retire the credits. Now I'm curious. So it's like Regen delegating Regen to itself to a wallet to then offset the credits. Where does the Regen go? Does it get burned, or does it get sent to like the wallet that created the credit?
Yeah, so let's unpack this just a little bit. So inside of, it depends on which credit type that the Regen Network community chooses to purchase. If the community chooses to purchase NCT, then that multi-sig wallet would go to the NCT pools on Osmosis when they launch, hopefully in January. And there'll be a Regen NCT and an Osmosis NCT pool, and would from that pool purchase NCT with the multi-sig. And then that just is going to come from whoever's credits happen to be in the NCT pool at the time. And then ultimately NCT is backed into an eco credit, and it's the eco credit itself that is retired. So ultimately the retirement for that credit would end up associated with the wallet that is the multi-sig for this proposal, so it can be linked to this proposal perpetually. If the community chooses to purchase city forest credits, there is a wallet associated with every city forest credits listing. And there are multiple wallets that have sell orders for city forest credits in the Regen marketplace. So that multi-sig would choose from the sell orders to fulfill the number from the governance proposal, and would purchase those credits from whichever wallets have those sell orders at the time for those credits. Is there anything you want to add there, Gregory, about the multi-sig process a little bit? Because
Well, I'm curious if people are considering just buying them buying and auto retiring. It seems like it'd be much easier to execute not going through the NCT pool. I know some people wanted that specifically, but I'm just curious. Honestly, my curiosity sort of like live, like thinking through this workflow, it seems much easier to just buy an auto retire directly out of Regen's marketplace than to do it on the Osmosis NCT pool for this kind of thing, because then you don't have price slippage. You're sort of like buying and retiring in the same motion.
Yeah, I think it would be good to know if there are validators and protocols here that think that would be easier than using the NCT pool. I mean, the advantage to the NCT pool on Osmosis is that there will be another proposal to turn on rewards for the pool. So that is an opportunity for folks to engage with that isn't available in the marketplace. But we are considering putting listings of some of the highest quality credits that are in NCT in the marketplace directly, so that if folks want to go there and just purchase and retire and complete the quest very simply, that they also have that as an option. So it'd be good to get a sense of how people
definitely makes sense. It definitely makes sense from sort of like hey, this is awesome, we're building an NCT pool and there's demand and we're building demand. And I know some protocols are wanting to, like Osmosis is buying several years of offsets essentially, then providing liquidity in the pool so that then they can just auto pull out as they go. I think that's really rad. So I don't want to push people away from that, but I'm just thinking from a like multi-sig execution level. I kind of think it doesn't matter either way, really. It's whatever the group of people that's executing it wants to do. I will say there are enough things to do, and multi-sig transactions are clunky enough. I would certainly advise people, if there is enough trust, to have a single person who is known, who's sort of like outs themselves and then manages a address, just like manage the process. I think the risk of someone like absconding with that when everybody knows like the amount of money that it's going to be versus the risk if they're a prominent person is pretty low. I don't think somebody's going to like make off with, you know, the Cosmos Zero cash. That might make it a lot easier operationally, but that's a decision for communities to make. You know, is there somebody that they want to delegate that ability to like go and make the purchase and make the retirement that they then send the community funds to? But Antonio, I hope that helps. Like essentially the process here is, you know, once the vote is, part of the vote is identifying an address where the community funds go, I think, or at least sort of like a direction. Then that sort of takes place, it's operationalized, the community funds go to that address that's managed by an individual or a group, and then they will just basically be using that to purchase the NCT. I guess the one thing that, the reason why doing, now that I'm thinking about it, the reason that doing it on osmosis in the NCT pool makes the most sense is you can automate the swap of the, you know, whether it's Evmos or Build or whatever the native protocol currency is, can just get swapped straight into NCT because osmosis allows you to sort of like, they automate the multi-swap system. So actually talking through it out loud, yeah, we should just be doing it from the NCT pool. So then they'll have NCTs, and then to make the retirement, you bring those NCTs over, you swap them out, and you have to do the retirement on Regen. You can't just get the NCTs and sit on them if you're claiming a retirement.
Cool. I think these are all really good options for particularly the Regen Network community to discuss in Commonwealth. And we definitely recommend that folks get in that proposal, you know, this week if possible, and really dig into, you know, what do we want to do this? What credits do we want to buy? And then how do we want to administer it? I think are really the three decision-making junctures that we do need community input for. So, you know, thanks to everybody who has jumped into the Commonwealth proposal so far. And definitely, Sarah, if we can share out the link to that proposal specifically, I think that would be really helpful to get folks directly connected to it.
Yeah,
that is in
retweeting
the
that
comments.
link would be awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would jump in there and comment. I have yet to, so I would certainly share some thoughts. I see Liam from Evmos is here as well. Be fun to jam with you, Liam. And I know Stakesito is here, that's been on the committee working through the Evmos process. And so feel free to raise your hand if you want to hop up and jam.
Yeah, I just sent Liam an invite in case he wants to come up here. So maybe let's chat with some of the validators. I think for the last 20 minutes, you know, we've heard a little bit from just Stake, and I think we can swing back to you all again. But it might be fun to hear from the Empower validator and protocol decision making, because it was a little bit different than some of the ways that other communities are approaching this decision making because they're pre-mainnet. So I think it's worth seeing if you want to take a moment here, Gearman, and share.
Yes, happy to do that. Can you hear me okay, by the way? I'm in a bit of a weird setup here.
Yeah, it's close enough. Good.
Close enough. I'll take it. Yeah, so we, like you said, we're pre-mainnet, so we don't really have too much of a governance setup yet. We have, however, a Discord that's quite active with having had a first testnet up already. So we have at least a lot of validators there, and also some people that is coming through like the Plastic Hero NFTs that we did. So we have like some community there already. So what we did essentially was that we put up a very basic vote on Discord with emojis, thumbs up and down, and a big red circle for no with veto, and basically try to outline, just like in any of the Commonwealth posts, why we're considering this and why we think it might be a good idea, and try to engage with people and tagging. The benefit actually with Discord is that you can tag people in more easily than with Commonwealth. So instead of having to DM people to get more input, I could just tag people. So I got more. So after the initial run, after I put it up initially, we didn't get much like discussion around it, which I thought was a bit of a shame. So I tagged in people again to get more input, and then people got involved. So yeah, that's actually been quite a good process. So we got quite a lot of engagement from that. So we're yeah, pre vote, but it's a very positive pre vote.
And just to reinforce, German, what you're saying there, tagging in all of these processes, really like reaching out and like tapping people on the shoulder, so to speak, and saying, hey, what do you think about this? Or you have that. I think it's just such a core part of any governance process, whether it's in Discord or on Commonwealth. It just seems to be so important.
Yeah, totally. That was quite worthwhile to be able to do that in an effective way.
Cool. Thanks so much for sharing. And yeah, congrats to the Empower community for, levying your vote in Discord and being flexible about, where governance can happen and what stage you're ready for. So welcome to the Cosmos Zero Club.
Thank you. We are super excited to be there.
Yeah, thanks. And thanks for your leadership. I also just pulled up to the stage here, Regenerator Validator, which has worked to put the proposal up on Juno. So I'm wondering, Regenerator, if you want to share about the Juno proposal, if you have any like requests for community support in the proposal, how you're seeing it's going, and just what's going on over on the Juno side.
Yeah, definitely. It's a challenge. We've put the proposal on Commonwealth. There's been sort of positives, and there's been a few people pushing back. So, any kind of support from you guys to get onto Commonwealth and trying to help us with dealing with the issues. There's been a few comments. I think the main one came from the core team of Juno. They would like to offset what they do as a core team, and it's difficult for. I certainly can't estimate how much they use, but without engaging with them, it would be good to sort of. I don't know whether we could recommend sort of an amount for a core team for a protocol.
We could put a little bit of work into that. There is, as part of the calculator that's provided there are. My recollection is there's the option to include there is an estimation tool for including flights and office space and other things.
Yeah.
So I think it's just a matter of like maybe doing a little bit of support. I know it's hard. People are busy. It's hard. I'll go to a spreadsheet. Generate a an estimation. I think we could probably lean in and provide a little bit of support to come up with an estimation there. I would also note that so I think let's sort of see if we can accomplish that. That shouldn't be too hard.
Yeah, and I'm happy, Regenerator, if we want to start working in the Telegram group on this, I'm happy to lean in because I'm actually I'm trying to do a similar calculation for R&D Inc. What's the, essentially the core team of Regen Network's footprint. So I am trying to build a really simple tool that looks at, in real world offices, at home offices, flights, taxis,
and Sarah,
all that kind of stuff.
Brecht did do all of that. That should be in the spreadsheet that Brecht did for proof of stake operations.
Yeah, but that spreadsheet's it's just for validators. So there are some other items that aren't all included in that context. So that's where I'm just trying to find a couple of additional points of information so that they can do the sub analysis that people do. But either way, Regenerator, I provided at least already in Commonwealth for Juno the link to the calculator repo to try to provide just a pile of resources that the core team can look at. But I'm happy to also lean into a conversation with them around how big is their core team, what information do they have about their core team, how could we use what information is available to come up with an understanding of what that footprint is in order to propose adding it to this particular governance proposal. So just please let me know how I can help and just reach out. I'm happy to lean in with you here.
Yeah, we'll do. I'll look into that and I'll get back to you on Telegram.
Great. I see that Antonio, you raised your hand. Looks like you got a question.
Yeah, I had a comment just about if there was a possibility to build this type of calculator on, say, Juno. That's just an afterthought.
I don't think it makes sense to put it on Juno, but yes, I think at some point we'll have an automated calculator system. I think the process of kind of like getting it out of spreadsheet land and getting it into user interface is not terribly complicated, but it hasn't been the sort of the core focus amidst all the other things to do. So I think that's the intention. I would love if people have inspiration to do that. I mean, I think generally speaking, it is, so this sort of thing where we're doing, we have plans in Regen, on Regen Ledger, the R&D Public Benefit Corp has had plans in our public-facing roadmap for a little while. We should have conversations about this, but around doing what we're calling an offsetting module, where you actually have sort of an emissions estimation tool, and you are essentially creating an Oracle system that generates an on-chain estimate. And then you match that with your offset. So, I think that's in 2023 roadmap at some point, like where we prioritize that to shift out of, sort of like doing it long form on a spreadsheet and having a sort of public record around that, and then anchoring the data in that way, which is sort of slow and clunky, into the automated system. I think it's just a prioritization and roadmap question. But yes, I mean, super supportive and excited about that. And if there are people, again, if there's people who are like, oh, that sounds like something we want to dig into, that's rad. I think we could probably support some grants within Regen for people who want to lean in and take a crack at starting to build that. There is already, I think, a sketch out in GitHub of an offset module like that. Could have a little bit of a conversation in the community dev call with Ryan from the Ledger about where the thinking is at, and people could start taking a crack at that.
Yeah, that's really good context. Thanks for sharing that, Gregory. The other thing that we're trying to do, in this analog environment right now, as they would describe it, is in the guide on the protocol footprint page, we're linking people's footprints. If, a particular protocol does collect validator footprint data with the footprint calculator or has a separate calculation for a core team, we can add that link to those tables so that the public can see, okay, here's their calculations. And our goal is really to make as much of everybody's analysis and decision-making public, how you came up with the estimate, what was your governance proposal discussion look like, what was the ultimate vote, and also collecting in that data set, here is the transaction hash for you retiring your credits that shows you completed the puzzle. So we are collecting that data in an analog world, and hopefully one day will all be reflected on the Regen Network blockchain and be a very easy system to repeat in the future. So we're in some ways kind of testing what that should look like by doing this process live in an analog fashion. So I think that, we've heard from Empower, we've heard from Regenerator, we've got 10 minutes left. I would love to hear from, Stixito and Liam about Evmos, see what you all have going on since your proposal on Evmos is not in discussion yet. See if there are anything you want to surface or things that we can support here as a community around your decision to participate here.
Yeah, hey, Sarah, maybe I can say a few words on this. I mean, so far the discussion with Evmos has been really great. We have a joint Telegram group where I basically sort of posted the first draft proposal in the Google Docs, very simple. And in the group, basically, we have some guys from the Evmos core team, but also the Evmos governance work stream. And just that Evmos is actually one of the most active chains on Commonwealth. So everything related to governance on Evmos is really well structured, and they also have a proposal currently online, basically to and enable Evmos governance DAO, which ratifies sort of its constitution and so on and so forth, and where governance will be well structured. And just very positive feedback on the proposal so far as well. But basically there were some concerns, or not really concerns, that we are more aligned with the strategically more aligned with Evmos, and sort of bringing NCTs also as ERC20s to Evmos, maybe also to diffusion and so on. And I don't know, maybe Liam wants to say a few things on this, but my question would be, how do we move forward on the strategic alignment here? And will this be parallel in the offset proposal, or should we integrate it into one final proposal? So basically
that's a great
where
question.
we are. Mm-hmm.
That's an awesome question. I mean, I don't know if I have an answer to that. I'd love to hear Liam's thoughts. I think probably governance best practice is to make proposals quite sort of specific and actionable instead of more generic. But I think maybe co-writing a blog or talking about the Evmos core team and us at R&D have had a lot of conversations over a period of time just about this sort of like bigger business opportunity, and I'm really excited to see NCT over on Evmos, and really excited to support Evmos, as I was mentioning earlier, to sort of be a home for the refi community that's already building tools out in in Solidity. So just really excited about that as a direction, and sort of I don't know. I mean, I think we just need to have some conversations. I would tend to say we should probably, maybe co-write a blog or something about the vision and the potential there, and then reference that in a governance proposal, but keep the governance proposal focused specifically on offsetting Evmos, and maybe some reference about how that, and then just sort of say, and it leads into or connects with this bigger vision of making Evmos a solid home base for the regenerative finance movement and the reasons why, and then have some follow-on proposals, maybe where we get into the nitty-gritty about how to fund and accelerate the business development cycle to help support those projects finding a home over on Evmos. I'd love to hear Liam's thoughts about that, but that's just at first glance how I would think about it.
Yeah, I mean, all well said. I don't know necessarily that I have, anything to add on the discussion of, the proposal itself. Super thankful to Cryptocito and team and working with the Regen team on putting together this proposal. It's been kind of a long time coming to offset the carbon emissions of Evmos. But also, as you mentioned, Gregory, like we really want to do a lot more. With Regen. We've been talking about like a Gitcoin integration for a while, and was just catching up with the Gitcoin team earlier this week about that. And really just focusing on how can we bring more, both, refi as well as just social, good projects into the Cosmos ecosystem. And I love the Gitcoin example, in particular, just because by bringing Gitcoin over to Evmos, really what we're bringing Gitcoin over is to the broader Cosmos ecosystem too, and making it possible so that you can take any, token from Regen or Osmosis or otherwise, bring it over to Evmos and be able to fund and support projects in the greater Cosmos ecosystem.
I'm so amped about Gitcoin on Evmos. I'm just unspeakably excited and supportive of that happening.
Yeah, no, and there's still a lot of work to be done on that side, but the Gitcoin team is certainly supportive of the goals there too, and so hoping to have more, in early Q1 to be able to share with the wider community. But yeah, awesome. I mean that's kind of all from me. We're super open to collaboration. We're spending a lot of time right now doing 2023 planning. So also I'll pose the question to the broader community that's on this call or listens later to please reach out to us if you have any feedback or ideas on what we should prioritize for 2023. Right now we've got a lot of ambitious plans to bring in a lot more of that Cosmos functionality into the EVM through EVM precompiles, So basically making it possible so that you can do like staking and IBC transfers directly from the EVM, directly with your smart contracts. And so at the end of the day, like our goal is to expand the functionality of the EVM, to take advantage of more of these cross-chain applications, and enable these cross-chain applications. And so that's really where I'm excited about us being able to expand with Regen and the broader ecosystem.
Super exciting. No, I love it, and I'm really amped about all of that work. And yeah, I mean, we should definitely. I mean, my vote, for what it's worth, is, you know, for 2023. I think if Evmos, as such a strong community-run, community-owned, bootstrapped network that also has garnered sort of attention and support from you know, like the right way, like after developing the culture and launching the chain from some capital, from external capital, I would just say, man, the growth, I think the biggest growth area in 2023 is going to be sort of like real world refi, sort of refi adjacent. And so just excited with that, and emphasizing that and putting and supporting that, I think will really be attractive to a lot of people, especially because of the proximity and ease of integration with Regen Network. I mean, I think we could do some really fantastic things that have been a little bit harder. It's a little clunky. You know I saw Timo out there. I don't see him anymore. I wish he was on here listening still. You know, I know Antonio has done a lot of work in the Ethereum world, but I just think there's a lot of community members who would be super amped for really tight coupling between Regen functionality, the registry work, asset origination, and then the more creative opportunities cross-chain to deploy permissionless dApps and do all sorts of cool things and sort of access and launch and build that. So very, very excited about that.
Awesome. Equally excited.
Great. Well, we have 2 minutes left here, so I was going to see, you know, if Staken has anything else as a validator that you want to add about the proposals you're working on. I know he's talked about them a little bit beforehand, and if not, you know, I think we can close on time. Just with a quick reminder that, you know, Cosmos Zero is a community-wide initiative. This takes a community of validators, a community of protocols, and a community of token holders to say, yes, we care about this. And that happens inside of each and every individual community across the cosmos. So this is very much a game of both getting through the steps in order to get your Quest badge, but it's also really a game of community governance. You know, can we rally our community around a shared story, a shared lens, and a shared impact, no matter what chain we're on, and create more positive outcomes by working together across multiple chains? I think that's one of the most exciting things to me about the Cosmos Zero campaign, is just the opportunity to get so many different people involved through the same lens across so many different protocols at the same time. So if there are any final kind of desires to speak, raise your hand now. Otherwise, I think we can maybe let you say a final word, Gregory, and move on for the day.
Let's out-cooperate the competition. It's super exciting. We're sort of working through this. It's unprecedented. So unprecedented things always, you know, sort of like go slow to go fast. You know, working through these community processes, building our governance muscles, educating people about carbon, educating people about the new opportunities. It's just the right way to do it, but it's, you know, it's slow and steady, and it's going to really build, I think, a very strong foundation for this new regenerative finance economy in Cosmos. And yeah, just super excited, grateful for everybody who's on the call, for all Sarah, for all your work, and Sari, thanks so much for helping order and organize, and Shepherd. Thanks so much to all of the validators who are up here and community members who just have their sleeves rolled up and are engaging. Yeah, it's just super exciting. And let's see where we go from here.
Great. Well, thanks everyone for joining, and enjoy your day out there in the technosphere. We are a stronger community together, so we really deeply appreciate you all. Enjoy your day.
Take care, everybody.
Thank you,
Thanks
guys.
for hosting.
Bye bye.